production team.
We have such high quality production here, people. Thank you for putting up with us. Truly, with all of my soul, you guys are like ride or dies. You guys are ride or dies. Okay, hold on. Let's see. We got Elizabeth and Jackie. Oh, nice to see you all. I figured I'd wear something a little different, but still the same for fun. I see Michael, Jackie, Elizabeth. Thank you all so much for coming. You know, it may not seem like a big deal to do this every week, but there's so many other things going on, right? And it really is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Let me see if I can do something here real quick. I guess I can't. So it is what it is. Okay, so oh man, you guys, happy Yule. I see Jessica. How you doing, Jessica? I hope you can hang out with us for the next hour if it's possible. I see her showing up from the New Orleans, my New Orleans homie. Yeah. Happy Yule, happy winter solstice, everybody. Very magical time of the year. This is actually, I'm a summer baby. My birthday is June 25th. But to me, this is the most magical time of the year. You know, it's Halloween and then Yule, because it's just so dark and cold, and it just, you know, makes me feel not guilty for not wanting to go outside and talk to people. Like, I have an excuse. Even though I don't live in Canada or Minnesota, it's sunny today. It's a totally nice day to go outside, but you know what I mean? Let's see, you guys. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Sometimes you know, again, I share very vulnerable things here with whoever's watching, because I'm so tired of everything having to be so overly produced. You know, there's quality checks you have to definitely make, but you know, sometimes you got to start from where you're at and you got to use what you have, and that's it. And that's what you're witnessing here. And I hope that in 2020 you'll be with me as it evolves and grows and the production gets better and all of that. But you know what? You got to just start when you feel moved to start something, and then that's how you figure out what else is missing, what else can be improved. You just got to do it. You just got to show up, right? Showing up is the hardest part. So you know, this is just showing up. But yeah, so it's been quite a little bit of a challenge to make sure everything's put together, because we have to build the set every Sunday. And this is the area in our house where you walk in, the foyer area, right? So it can't remain like this, so we have to constantly set it up. Anyway, just a little behind the scenes info. And I appreciate you guys putting up with me with this phone, taking a crap for the past 2 Sundays in a row. I'm working on getting an HD camera, like a cam, and using my laptop and signing in on Facebook that way with the cam. So we're working out some things for 2020, and I hope that all of that we don't have to worry about technical crap. And that's the last thing I want to deal with when I'm trying to work on the content and all these things. So thank you for your patience with me, you guys. And I'll be putting these videos up on my YouTube channel and the playlist Church on the B-Sides as well, so that they're organized there and people can go back and watch them at your leisure if you feel like it. So anyway, there's all of that. Yeah, welcome. And I'm Chriselda. You guys know who I am. For those who don't know who I am and are going to stumble across this weird shit later and think, what is this freak show? My name is Chriselda, and my priestess name is Lumen Sophia. I'm a Neo-Luciferian Gnostic priestess. And yeah, I'm here just wanting to shine on and share some things I think I know. And I'm hoping and wondering if you think you know these things too, and if you've wondered about them yourself. Shout out to anyone who is watching now or who will watch later. from the Luciferian society. All the truth seekers looking for the light in the darkness, which is the most perfect time to talk about Luciferianism, is the winter solstice, because winter solstice is symbolically exactly Luciferianism. It is in the darkest, coldest night of your life, the dark night of your soul, things that we have gone through. Maybe you're going through it now and it feels like you are maybe in the middle of an existential crisis in your life, when you realize so many of the things that you thought were actually true and real have turned out to not be, and you find yourself in a position of questioning fundamental things like the ground that you've been standing on. I mean, we take for granted that the ground that we're standing on is never going to give way. And then one day it does, doesn't it? And that's what I mean about the existential crisis, where just these foundations you thought you had set your life upon turned out to be not true foundations, but they're built on landfill instead of on bedrock. You know, the integrity of bedrock is where we want to build our lives. And that takes a lot of self-knowledge. That takes the path of self-knowledge, the constant questioning of your assumptions, so that you can make sure you're not tricking yourself, because you need this person to be that for you, but they really are not. You know, you need this job to be this thing for you, but it's turning out that it's not. And so we have to learn how not to deceive ourselves first, because whenever we have trusted a liar or liars, it's because we have lied to ourselves first, right? So the path of Luciferianism is a path for people who are seeking a way to no longer lie to themselves. Isn't that it? Seeking the way to no longer lie to yourself. That's a big old hallelujah, right? All the collateral damage that comes from us lying to ourselves first. That's where it starts. First with us. First with us, people. Whew, I have a lot of stories around that. I have gone through many times in my life where I have not questioned my own assumptions, and then I wind up in some shithole situation, and I'm like, what the hell? How did I wind up here? Well, Griselda, it's your fault. Right? Well, what did you do? What did you assume? Anyway, look who we have with us today. Again, we got Larry. Let me grab him by the horns. He's like a bull. Say hi to Larry the devil. He's always hanging out. We got Larry, and we got Toth, who is the scribe of the Emerald Tablet. This is what we're talking about, the 7 Hermetic Principles. Then I'm going to definitely introduce Lilith. Lilith in the house! Lilith in the house! Lilith in the house! Yeah, she's certainly a big part of the family here, right? And so, you know, here's the family on Yule. Did you see Lawrence up there with his little horns and the holiday spirit? Anyways, yeah, you know, it's Yule, it's winter solstice, and it's really powerful time. And today we're talking about the Hermetic Principle number 6, or 6 weeks of following the Hermetic Principles, the 7 Hermetic Principles. Today is cause and effect. To me, this is actually my favorite, is cause and effect, because this is truly the principle that demonstrates before your eyes, more than any other principle really, how well you have mastered or are mastering the others before it. You know, it's really seeing if you, let's review the 7 before that, right? The principle of mentalism, number 1. Number 2, correspondence. 3, vibration. 4, polarity. 5, rhythm. 6, cause and effect. Now here we are able to see sort of in the reconciliation of all these other things. How well have I grasped them? And where am I off the mark? Is it in vibration? Is it in correspondence? Is it in polarity? You start to see how all of this stuff works. And the cause and effect principle, like I said, to me, demonstrates how well we understand these others. But before we get into that, I really wanted to talk about a little bit of the history here with Yule, because I'm sure that this is not going to be a lot of news to anyone watching this, or maybe it is, especially those of you who are watching now. You know, this is it's rooted in paganism, right? As we all know. So before I do that, let me see what you guys are saying here. Let's see. What's up? Makes it real, no bullshit. Oh, cool. You're talking about the production. Hopefully, it won't take a crap today. I actually updated the software update on my phone, and I think that that is partly why it was crashing, because it needed to update. So, and I've dumped a lot of data off my phone now. I'm not getting any alerts that I need to dump any data. So hopefully this works now. And if it doesn't, well, you know, I'm going to have to just do what I have to do. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so, yeah, you know, so Yule, I did some research because I certainly understand the Christmas is taken, just like everything else. You know, this is connected to colonialism. Christianity is connected to that. So it's a really interesting thing to talk about today regarding cause and effect too, because if you look at the origins of Christmas and the origins, you know, going back to Yule, I did some research, and it's really interesting how it was so much fun. This time was so much fun. Not that it's not fun for some people, but it's a whole different kind of fun. It used to be a very Mardi Gras-ish kind of fun. I mean, like drinking and orgies, and there was even like, I wrote some stuff down I want to share with you guys because I think it was really amazing. I do know what Saturnalia is, but to flesh it out and watch videos and read about the nuance of all these things just really goes to reiterate the sort of the manufacturing of consent and how this started a long time ago. This started a long time ago in Rome, right? I mean, it started before that, but we're talking about modern times and postmodern times. That's pretty much where it's rooted, is in Rome. Everything leads back to Rome, as they say, because it's true. Let me see what you guys are saying. Okay, so anyway, light and birth. Okay, so here we go. The light and birth of the sun. Is it the sun or the sun? This is how Jesus was created, basically. And I want to read some of this stuff to you that I found out about the evergreens, and I didn't know all that. Did you know that they brought evergreens in from outside because the evergreen is the only tree that could actually last in the winter throughout all the years? So it was like the symbolic strength of nature through the summer, through the winter, through the fall, through the spring. And so this is why we use evergreens. They used to decorate them with apples, which is now turned into the ornaments that we use now. And so I'm going to read some of this to you here. Before I do that, I'm going to take a drink of some tea. Oh, you guys. All right. All right, here we go. This is what I want to talk to you about. Did you know the elites in Rome would celebrate also? They celebrated Mithra, the god of the unconquerable sun. This, hold on 1 second, you guys. I think I have time. Yeah, tell them I'll be back.
All right. All right, we're going to take a little intermission here. And I'm going to try to hold this down for a second. All right, here we go.
Oh, man.
Tried to hold it down in the intermission.
I have some tummy issues going on, you guys. I'm going to have to cut this short in a minute.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. Talk about being real, right? I had to go to the shitter in the middle of church. Oh my God. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and just go right into the cause and effect stuff because that's where I feel like I can hold my power better and I'm not feeling well, so I might have to cut it short. But I don't want to not get into the cause and effect because to me this is my most favorite subject in all of the Hermetic Principles. So if I have to get up again, where's my bell? Not today, Satan. I will go do what I have to do, and then I'll return, right? Even if I have to cut it short. So I hope that gave you guys a little laugh, Anyways, cause and effect. It's the principle that really demonstrates whether we are understanding the others or not. Cause and effect, let me read that straight away from the Kabbalion. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. Chance, did you hear that? Chance, here we go. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. In other words, even the slightest of coincidences, even the slightest of, coincidences, it doesn't seem like this is connected at all to. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, that one small, tiny, micro, nuanced action from one side of the planet will create a ripple effect of other action that will show up, here in this country in some small town somewhere as a result of that action. The butterfly effect is actually a perfect example of the law of cause and effect. And so it's sort of like, this is why I constantly am talking about self-knowledge and questioning our assumptions, questioning what we think we know and how did we come to know it. These are really important things because these are the things that are going to drive us to an action, right? Like the butterfly effect. How is that action going to show up? What is the effect we are looking for in our lives to take hold of our lives? Then we have to ask ourselves, well, where are we planting the seed? How are we planting the seed? We have to look at the vibration. We have to look at our mentalism. We have to look if we understand polarity. There's so many other spaces in the Hermetic Principles that we have to master so that we can now create the effect and manifestation of an idea, a desire that we want, and to make sure that that is in line with our true motivations and our true agendas. Whether they're heart-centered or ego-centered. See, that's what I'm saying, is with these laws, there aren't any moralities attached to them. It's really more about being honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself. To me, the highest integrity is being honest with yourself, whether that would be seen as good or bad, or evil or non-evil. It's just about, you have to confess to yourself what your motivations are and why. And even if you don't like them, what if somebody's motivation just is centered around money or making money or getting power? Well, I mean, if that's what you want, you have to be honest about that that's what you want. Because that is what's going to manifest. They always say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And so the good intentions, that's the pretending. That's the pretending. And so, of course, it's going to pave a road to hell. This is the cause and effect, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. About the having to go to the little ladies' room, people. Yeah, it's still kind of acting up, so I apologize. So let me go ahead and do that because that threw me off, I want to talk about the cause and effect as it relates to the Christianity as we know today, because I wanted to talk about Yule. And so there's so many things I wanted to mention about Yule. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put them up there for things you guys could read later or something like that. I'll put some links. That's fine. So I just want to get into the cause and effect. We all know that Christmas has been co-opted by the pagans, right? And ultimately, they were partying, and there was nothing about the way we celebrate now. The interesting thing is that in England, they used to go knocking on door to door to like rich people's houses. So they used to go to rich people's houses once a year during this time, and this is when they were looking forward to. Rich people then gave people gifts or money, however, whatever it is that they gave them, mostly money, and that is how a lot of people were able to survive the rest of the year. Isn't that interesting? Because they would go knocking on rich people's door, and rich people knew that this was what they were going to do. This was a practice during this time of year. Can you imagine? It's like Halloween almost, right? I mean, there's the knocking on the door, giving the candy, and all these things. Everything's rooted in a pagan ritual. But even during Yule time, this is what happened. A lot of things happened. There were orgies, parties, drinking. There was a lot of drunkards walking around singing, songs, and that's how the caroling started to happen. So there's so much about this time of year that was a lot more fun. Now it's not going to rich people to get money, right? It's going to spend your money to give it back to them. It's an interesting flip around what we've got going on this postmodern time. And so this Christianity, this is a prime example of cause and effect, right? So when we decide to make a one Godhead, what we're doing, and not like all these different pagan gods, or when we recognize nature and the wheel of the year and so on, when we decide to make one male God, then what is the cause and effect of that? Thousands of years later, what does that do? It creates a society that what? Is it a society that is dependent now? Is it a codependency, not an interdependency? Where each of us is our individual sovereign person, where we know our divine names and therefore our divine purpose. And in that space of sovereignty and divinity, individual divinity, we know how to accept your gift as you know how to accept my gift, with no competition, no ego games, no ego competitions. None of that's going on. All we know is that you are showing up in your divine sovereign wholeness as I am too. So that's a powerful exchange and interdependency, right? But this codependency, this cause and effect of creating, sort of taking from the pagans, taking from the power of nature and her truths, and then weaponizing it and giving all that power to one Godhead that is unseen, that is, just too holy to even comprehend, a Godhead that it developed shame, really, which is a real powerful way to control people, right? So all the laws of nature, all the secrets of nature, which are all these 7 Hermetic Principles, really, and this is the secret, are weaponized now, given to one Godhead to rule over and control people. So what happens, what is the long-term cause and effect of that, of planting that seed, is it's creating a civilization of people who don't know their sovereign names, don't know their divinity, don't know, therefore, their individual divine purpose. They don't know it. As a result of them not knowing their name, knowing their purpose, they're easier to be manipulated, right, by the state, which becomes a representative of this one Godhead, right? It's like the monarchy. This is another way to explain that. Even though we don't have a monarchy, we have an oligarchy. We still have rich people. We still have people that are the wealthiest, really making all the rules. They are the ones creating the manufacturing of consent. They're in their PR schemes, and their nonprofits and their NGOs, and all the media and technology we have now are all in the hands of the wealthiest people in the world, right? So then they create culture, then they create these unspoken rules, and we think that we are moving through all of it with our own free will, and we are to some extent, but how much free will, right? If you don't know your sovereign name and your divine name, you don't know your divine purpose, and if they're using you, and with the help of this one Godhead, which is the state, which is God, which is this monotheism, right? Instead of understanding the spirits of nature, understanding the truth of nature. We have given it all there. So now we see mass consumerism. Now we see, the competitiveness of capitalism has sunken so deeply in our collective consciousness that we are always competing. Even if it's not for jobs, even if it's not for money, even if it's not for power, right? In these micro ways, constantly competing with our egos. We have to somehow be more special than somebody else, right? So because we have been taught to compete for our lives and resources in this society of consumerism and mass, like corporate run, even social programs and so on, we don't ever stop competing in one way or the other. And so when we're constantly in fear of not being as special as so-and-so, when we are constantly in fear of our survival, not just our egos and being more special, but being kicked out of the house, not being able to pay rent and things like that, then we are controlled. And how can we then even cultivate our own true nature to remember that is really the truth of why we're here, right? And so the cause and effect of this whole, now we went from, knocking on the rich man's door for them to share their wealth on that level, to hanging out outside of Best Buy on Black Friday and it's like 33 degrees and raining and people are sleeping on the streets because they cannot wait to run in and beat each other up for a fucking vacuum cleaner. It's pretty funny. Let me see what you guys are saying. Being honest with self and presenting, that has been one of the most official journeys. Yep. Yule is directly related to one of your best slogans. Nature is the truth. Right. Oh, by the way, there it is. Oh, it fell. I had the shirt there. Maybe you guys saw it earlier. It is the truth. Let's see. We got Patricia from South Africa watching. Founder Templar 1 International on Facebook is here. Hey, Brian. Thanks for being here. I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos because this one today has been a little... So for the past 2 Sundays, my phone is taking a crap. And today I did. I got sick in the middle of this, so I had to excuse myself. So anyway, welcome. I hope that you'll look back at the other videos and see this is a very strange place. And I hope that you will tolerate us here. And I'm still feeling a little ill, you guys. So, I'm going to do this. I might have to cut it short. So the thing about, so let me see. The effect result of monotheism will create a society, civilization that is codependent rather than interdependent via each of our individual, powerful, divine sovereignty, our true nature. Our true nature, what I mean by that is without any agendas, hidden agendas. Just the way, I mentioned this before, a lion is a lion without having its own agenda. It is what it is. Our true nature can only be known when we know our true name. I always say our true nature is connected to the Lilith archetype, who is nature unbridled. and then when we remember our true nature, when we have a certain self-actualization or just becomes more self-aware, or realize that we are here on that level, kind of like, I don't know if animals do or don't. I mean, do we really? I don't know. Maybe my cat has a lot of self-awareness, But when we remember that we are here or realize that we're here, then that remembering is what I think the Christ energy is, which is the Luciferian remembrance, the light and the darkness, the remembrance through amnesia of our purpose, our name. So I think our true nature and the remembrance via the amnesia married together is the divine marriage. That is what the divine marriage is our true nature marrying our remembrance of our divine true name in those kinds of ways. So that's the light and the darkness. That's the epiphany of the human soul. And those are the two things. And so, yes, all of that has been taken, and then we're witnessing all around us the collateral damage and cause and effect of the church, taking nature's secrets, stealing it from paganism as we we witnessed through Yule, and flipping it around, and creating a one Godhead, and giving our power to that Godhead, that in turn becomes the state, which in turn becomes the corporate world that is ruling over everything now, which in turn creates, not, we're begging people to let them give them our money, which is energy. Our money is energy. So we're throwing our energy at things that don't matter, because we are being led to the slaughter by this idea of codependency, right? We don't know the truth of nature. Nature is the truth. We don't know our names. So this is what I'm seeing happening with that. The result of monotheism will create a society, civilization that is codependent rather than interdependent, because all the power exists outside the self, and we are trained to consciously and unconsciously give our power away to everything outside the self. We are treated as infants. This is also the infantilization of the human being, right? We're always wanting daddy to approve of what it is that we are about to do, or what it is that we want to do. We need daddy to see us, so that we can feel seen at all, instead of not relying on this ultimate patriarch, this ultimate Godhead. That's very narcissistic, by the way. And narcissistic energy refuses to witness you. You cannot be witnessed. If that's going to survive and keep feeding, it doesn't want you to ever be witnessed. Because once you're witnessed, then you'll see that he's the Wizard of Oz, screaming inside of a big old microphone. And now you see the truth of him, and you'll see that his balls haven't dropped yet, and he's just really just a yammering child. He doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't have any wisdom. And this is the manifestation of a lot of our leaders too, right? This is like the golem, this the collective voice and internal voice, true motivations of people that have not been spoken, but their actions speak it, have created these golems, which are these archetypes that show up in manifestation in these forms, right? Here they are before our eyes. They clearly are the cause and effect of something. We cannot deny it. Things do not occur in isolation. They're responding to some other action somewhere else. And eventually, if that is so densely practiced and thought, it will manifest in a material form. Let's see. Yes. Oh, live in Sophia's Temple of Chaos. Oh, I love that. That's great. Oh my God, you guys. I'm not even embarrassed. You know why? Because nature's the truth. You gotta love yourself. I mean, I just have issues right now. Anyways. Okay, so let me see. This is also convenient when it comes to society that depends on perpetual consumerism. In order to live and thrive, we are taught to be consumers instead of creators. We are taught to be consumers instead of creators. What would happen if each of us stopped consuming and literally were able to sustain ourselves in a way that we could just create? This is the law of nature, which is scarcity is a lie, abundance is the truth. The law of nature, scarcity is a lie, abundance is the truth in the law of nature. The law of the machine is reversed. Scarcity is the truth and abundance is a lie. This is how one way to measure what is in integrity and what is not in integrity. And as it stands right now, we each are being trained to consume relentlessly and not to create. And those who are creating, I wonder this, those who are, it's kind of clear, who are creating, and even when you do create something, there is something waiting to devour it right on the other side of the door. As soon as you give birth to the baby, there's a wolf that wants to eat it, right? So it's kind of like, even though we can be creators. That other force will always be in existence. It's just that right now we have been forced to consume instead of we can't afford to create. Who can afford the time to sit and manifest like their ideas constantly, right? And this is done on purpose. This is done on purpose. Let's see. Almost sounds like you are describing the occupant of the White House. I am. I think that Trump is a culmination. Now this is an interesting topic for me because it's first of all, it's very controversial, right? Everybody has strong feelings about all of it, which is completely understandable and necessary to have these feelings. I think that he represents, he's the golem, right, that has shown up of the United States. And nothing about his existence surprises me at all, even though it has surprised a lot of people for a long, long time. Well, since he's been elected, they've been shocked. But if you've really been paying attention, it's not really shocking. I think on some level, he really is just the first one to be unabashedly honest about who he is. And I think that so to some people that's great, and to some people it's not. And I think that all politicians, he in some ways has shown everyone's ass. So in some ways it's not even just about him. It's about the entire way that the institution itself has been set up. And he's just the child that is like embarrassing the parent because he's gone ahead and let everybody into the house and sniff everyone's dirty underwear. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it turns out everyone's full of shit. And he's been the one to expose, you know, that the emperor has no clothes for a long time. So he's the one that's manifested and risen. But I think it's not just him. He's an expression of the way things have and need to operate in order for this empire to continue the way that it is. Let's see, Trisha. If the system, let me hit see more. Here we go. If the system falls apart, what can each one of us create to sustain ourselves? I ask people this as we need to become more self-sustainable and start living from the earth again. Right, and you know, there's and unfortunately, it's really unfortunate that, but not surprising that a lot of people have made collecting rainwater illegal. They've made growing your own food illegal. There's a reason why we can't just grow our own food, that we can't do these things, because the state is the overseer and is a symbol of God, the Godhead. Again, this is all connected to that we cannot return to nature. We are infants. We don't know any better. And it's the infantilization, like I said earlier, of civilization and humanity, because we need to remain children, right? We don't know how to govern ourselves. Do we have potential? Yes, we do. But all these other forces keep getting in the way of our will to express that, to explore that. And so you don't know better. Like you got to wait for the Godhead to tell you what to do, because you're just a child of God. So you don't know anything. Let's see. That's a scary thought. If the system falls apart, there's going to be so many who just can't cope. And that's going to be the collateral damage. I mean, and it's happening now. They want and need us to depend on them. They do. This is the point of the codependency. This is exactly it. You know, a narcissistic personality type needs and seeks out the codependent. If we look at we observe the psychological realities of these different mental disorders or mental illnesses or personality disorders, we just kind of like observe them and take like as data, like take data. Like in other words, if this is happening, if this is a narcissistic person and they are looking for people who are codependent, it's not just that person. There's a system that exists that it has that personality. There's an entire, industries that are narcissistic in nature. So everything that we are growing up in is narcissistic in nature. The more authentic you are, I feel like the more important it is for you to follow a path of self-knowledge, because it is quite literally like the rope being dropped down into a dark well. When you can't see around you, you don't know which way north is. All you need to depend on is the truth, is the absolute truth of nature, and these 7 Hermetic principles and self-knowledge, and keep practicing that, because that's going to help you out of the darkness of, help you to see what to trust, help you to understand what their motivation is, even if they don't understand their motivation, to keep you safe and to help you find your tribe as well, right? So this is what the state and the Godhead doesn't want any of us to know or to do, because then they will become irrelevant. We don't need them. And the narcissist, once somebody becomes aware that they are being used by a narcissistic personality type, the narcissist then at that point starts to gaslight said person. They start to gaslight them, right? They're no longer of use to the narcissist, because the narcissist has to feed off of the authentic, lion heart, has to feed off of the codependent person. This is the very nature of the codependent and the narcissist. And this is what we are dealing with in our system. So you're exactly right. First action of all anarchists is self-sufficiency, right? And that's not going to work here. Let's see. I live in a city of 4 million people in a desert. How could we be self-sustainable? I mean, isn't that the question? Even here in the suburbs, and you have houses that are right close to each other, and you don't have a lot of land, to yield food, or you don't have those things. It's the same kind of thing. I think, this is all done very on purpose. This is speaking of cause and effect, this is the effect, right? This is the result of that seed being planted so long ago. When we talk about neighborhoods and suburbs, did you know that suburbia was built because of the Industrial Revolution, right? Where people were created neighborhoods in suburbia around the machine. So people can live around the machine. The machine was the center of their lives. This is how suburbia was built. It didn't take into account that one day we would transcend the machine and go into these like almost thought forms of software programming and updates. And now technology is really transcending quicker than human mind is, right? But now we're still here in these places, living in the desert, like you said. There's so much infrastructure that hasn't caught up with it, but it's convenient for the people who are in charge of these systems. It's convenient for them because we are going to be forced into submission, right? As a result, we don't have access, and then there's laws restricting it on purpose, because they cannot allow us to become self-sufficient. That in and of itself threatens the entire fabric of this postmodern Western society as it has been built. Let's see what you're saying here. Trisha, yes, so right, they are stopping people from being self-sufficient. Studying these pricks. Oh yeah, me too. Urbanization has taken nature away, and I fucking hate it. Right. So this is. We can look at the cause and effect in our own lives. How can we observe that in our own lives? Are some of us sitting in a situation that we don't want to be in? Are you living in a situation you don't want to be in? And what I mean more by that is, I'm not necessarily talking about money, and the reason I'm not talking about money is because I sure as hell don't want to contribute to any shaming of people with no money. I don't have any money. And I hate when people talk about pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That's just, that is so old and irrelevant and completely misses the mark and is not in touch with reality today on so many levels that I just can't even entertain that thought. What I'm speaking to is in your heart and in your mind, because if you want money and all that can come later, but we have to deal with, where are we in our hearts? Are we feeling completely devastated? Are we feeling like just conquered? Have we lost our joy? When did we lose our joy? How did we lose our joy? To really become your own surgeon, and answer these questions deeply and honestly. Because when you do that, you have a chance, even if it's this small. And I have practiced this in my own life, and I've seen it work in my own life, and this is why I ask you to consider these things I say, not because I think I know it all. I certainly can't hold all that information in this little head of mine. But what I am encouraging anyone who's listening to this who might feel completely devastated in your life, you really are a puddle on the floor in your own house and you just don't have any more will left for some reason, I would ask that in that moment, in those spaces that you're in right now, this is a hard time of the year for a lot of people, and rightfully so. I understand. How did we wind up here? Answer those questions without shaming yourself for the answer, without making you feel like I'm stupid or I shouldn't have. The world is already doing that to you and to me. You don't need to do it to yourself. It's really unnecessary for you or for me to continue to make myself or yourself feel like a piece of shit. We are human beings, and we all make decisions that are not. We don't always hit the mark, and that's what sin means. Sin means missing the mark. It doesn't mean, oh, mea culpa, and you're gonna get whipped or whatever. And if you like getting whipped, that's up to you. But I'm just saying, if you miss the mark, you miss the mark. Every human being on the planet misses the mark. Okay? You're supposed to miss the mark. Where did you miss the mark? How did you miss the mark? Did you listen to somebody who lied to you? Did you think that you wanted this job, but now that you have it, or this experience, it's not what you thought it was going to be? Well, what did you think it was going to be? And you narrow these things down to such nuance that you are now custom creating your own road. And now but you wouldn't have known that if you wouldn't have missed the mark to begin with. So missing the mark is a blessing, and anyone out there who's listening to this during this time of year and you're depressed and really feeling lost, it's so cliche to say this, but you're not alone. You're not alone. Your neighbor is feeling it too. And if that brings any solace to you, I hope that it brings you some peace of mind to at least know you're not alone. This is hard. These are hard times. I think that a lot of us and collectively right now are in an existential crisis, because what I said at the beginning of the show before I had to run off to the, it's when we realize things were not as we were told, when we realize people are not who they said they were, when we realize that the ground beneath our feet that we thought was secure is in fact built on some landfill and now it's turning into some kind of swamp. It's really disturbing, and it can create this like soul loss, right? Where you just sort of you just fly out of your body and now you're floating, and and it's a very scary feeling, and I've been there myself. Let me see. What do I consider missing the mark? What I mean by missing the mark is, and it's really rooted to the beginning of stuff I'm talking about, knowing our true nature, knowing our divine name, and that self-knowledge is the only path towards truly remembering our divine name, and not what this society and the machine has told us is our name or our purpose. When we remember through this amnesia, when we do all of that, we hit the mark more often. The mark as it relates to our individual self. In other words, my purpose is not your purpose. So when we miss the mark for a lot of reasons, because we still haven't been, we haven't realized our true names, and as a result, we haven't realized our purpose, and so we make decisions based on our false selves. We make different decisions based on our false self, and that's what I mean by missing the mark, is creating an action based on our false self and not our true self. So the more and more we cultivate our true selves, the more we question our assumptions, the more we take a deeper path in our self-knowledge journey, and the more we realize who we are, then we will start to hit the mark, because it is now in alignment with our true name and our true purpose. That's what I mean by missing the mark. I hope that answered your question. So this is what I think, and everything I say here, I'm constantly talking about this on Church and the B-Sides. I say that don't believe anything I say, but go and research it, and I implore you to follow the path of self-knowledge. I want so badly for every human being on the planet to have these epiphanies and remember the power that is within them, that truly is their own sovereign power. It makes me happy and excited to see people who are, shining on in their authenticity, true authenticity, with humility, but joy, and knowing that there is enough for everyone else. I don't have to be upset when I see my sister or brother shining over here when they're doing their purpose and they're walking in their purpose. It actually gives me something, right? And I want to continue to walk more in my own purpose. And so that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, sometimes we need to just be happy with who we are and our lot in life. Yeah. I mean, just the peace of mind. Some people will say that also means, to be in denial. I don't know if that's what you mean. But I think that that to be happy and to find peace sometimes, I feel like sometimes, for me, my own personal struggle with that is that, sometimes knowledge can bring a burden, to the soul. And sometimes it doesn't. I think it just depends on each individual person. There isn't a right or wrong way. I think it depends on your own energy recipe and what you're made up of and so on. But I think that, if I can be happy and joyous with knowledge, then I think that this alchemy of those two things, despite the knowledge and how heavy it can be, that I'm going to choose a way to alchemize that so that it creates more abundance and joy in my life instead of depression, right? And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. The media doesn't help setting the bar so high that most people feel like failures because they don't live up to the TV standard. I know, and it's so shallow and boring. If you haven't seen this, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. Let me see. Kozel. Is it Kozel or Kozel? I'll say your last name because I don't want to mispronounce your first name. Apologies. But have you seen something on YouTube called The Century of the Self? I brought this up the last time, and some of you guys have heard this already. If you go to YouTube and type in The Century of the Self, I think that you will probably really enjoy that wormhole. Go there and check it out when you can, because it's very connected to what you're saying here. Kozel. Okay, I hope that I pronounced that. Or is it Kozel or Kozel? Yeah, try to check that out, because that is talking about manufactured consent and how TV has pretty much been weaponized. And not just television, but public relations, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's influenced culture. It has brainwashed minds. And it's created impossible standards. And not only that, it's the same standard. There's no individual celebration there. There's no nuance there. And it's shallow and it's short-sighted, and it's all based in the same consumerism of material things. There's no cultivation of the human spirit. Okay, I got it right the first time. Yeah, definitely bookmark that, okay? I'm looking forward to what you think about it. It's called Century of the Self. And I will include the link in here when I'm done so that you can just kind of click it and go right to it. Let's see what time it is. Let me put this on here. Yeah, you guys, makes me wonder how these news people do it when they have stomach aches and they're just like, excuse me, Donald Trump just created a fire. He just hit the nuclear button. Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, I don't know.
I got 2 words. Adult diapers.
Adult diapers! You know what? I'll wear adult diapers next time. You won't know what I'm doing. I'll just be here like... It's like, gross! Oh, cool! You got it. All right. Thanks, Michael, for mentioning that. Let's see. we have a few minutes, and I do want to just go over a couple more things, you guys. You don't want to be at the whim of others, unless you do. You know, I used to be a dominatrix, and there's no coincidence that people who are traditionally the most in charge of other people for prolonged periods of time, people are constantly kissing their ass because they're afraid to lose their jobs or they want a promotion. They have agendas, right? So they can't trust people around because they are the ones in charge. And those are the people that always came to me. And that just goes to show you, like, but this is a consent that is willful, right? When I say you don't want to be just taken about by the wind and whims of others with their agendas, turning you into a pawn on this chessboard. You know, the game of chess is really the game of life. And so it's not just about the moves that you're making, it's about the pawn too. What are you? Are you the queen? Are you the king? Like, what are you? The bishop? What's going on here? Each of these represents a different purpose, right? You have to know the purpose to know your move. Also, so it's not just about the move. You have to know the purpose. And so the path of self-knowledge really is the only way out of bondage. And this is how you become part of the world, but not of it. You're in the world. I'm in the world. This is the society we live in, whether we like it or not. And I think that it's just much better to observe reality as it is and not as we wish that it could be. We can wish it could be all we want, but it's dangerous to stay living in the wishing. We, at some point, must put our feet on true bedrock ground, and we must then from there understand the truth of situations, not the lie, not the rose-colored glasses version of it. Because then from that place, we can make a move in more integrity. You're going to go talk about cause and effect. The move that you're going to make will always come back to haunt you, right? It's best to make a move on solid ground, knowing thyself, which means more than anything, knowing your weaknesses, knowing what frightens you, knowing what terrorizes you, and why, okay? So that then you will know how to move. It is powerful to turn your devil into your friend, right? This is the whole hashtag I talk about constantly is rescue Jesus, ride your dragon. Turn your dragon into the very thing that takes you out of hell. The audacity, right, of getting on your dragon instead of having it scare you in hell. Climb on that bitch and ride him out. And when he rides out, on the other side, it becomes the phoenix. The dragon becomes the phoenix, right? So cause and effect is really it really is out of all the laws, it most definitely is the law that shows you before your eyes, not just the seed of your actions, but the seed of other people's actions and intentions, hidden, abstract intentions, manifest in cause and effect. This is where it materializes now. It doesn't have to materialize in something material or an action, but it does materialize in laws. It materializes in different judgments and behaviors, right? These are the ways that you can observe what somebody truly wanted to happen, not what they might have said they wanted to happen, because the action has to match the words, and if it doesn't, then you really know what they thought, as opposed to what they said they thought. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Kozil or Kozil. I'm so sorry. I appreciate you being here, and I apologize for continuing to mess up your name, but I hope that you don't mind so much. I mean, people mess up my name all the time. It's Griselda Pacheco. I mean, it just, so I know what it's like to have people continue to mispronounce your name. But thank you for being here. And okay, so the way that you practice this cause and effect in your own life is when I talked about us being in the puddle of depression, right? Or just resentment or rage and anger. When we're there, like, well, how did I wind up here? What seed did I plant? What seed did I not plant? What did I say? What have I not said? Not just what did I do, maybe it's what I have not done. So when you have not done it and have not said it, then you're just kind of like to the whims of other people's butterfly effects, You're just kind of being moved around and all of that. So own your actions. Even if you're embarrassed by them, who cares? When you own it and you're embarrassed and you own it anyway, the embarrassment goes away. That's how that works. It's pretty magical. When my aunt found out a long time ago when I was a stripper, I was raised by my grandmother, and my aunt threatened to tell my grandmother. And at that moment, I realized I have to be the one to tell my grandmother. So I did. I called my grandma and I had a long talk with her about my experience as a stripper, and that no matter what I do, that I'm still the little girl that she raised, and I have integrity, and I'm strong, and I'm paying attention. And so she doesn't have to worry about me. So when my aunt went to go tell on me, my aunt grandmother already knew, and she told my aunt, like, how dare you, desgraciada. It's like disgraceful, you're coming to tell on Griselda, and I already know. So it's like, how can you get your own back? How can you preemptively strike? All of the art of war cannot be successful unless you have an incredible self-knowledge. And that's what I wish and hope for everyone here today and everyone who watches later, is that you continue to cultivate the courage to go into that question that makes you shake, and continue to go into it until you stop shaking and you answer it and you conquer it, and you make that a part of now who you are, not in spite of it, but now it's part of your tool. It's become your biggest weapon now. Now it becomes your ally. That's what I hope for everyone watching this now and later. Cause and effect. We have to stop being comfortable in hell. Right. Don't let others negatively pull you down. Right. It's a real trick to be around people who are suffering and who may not be following down this path of self-knowledge and self-awareness, and then you are, but you see that they're not, and they're continuing to sometimes use their victimhood as excuses to continue to feed or to not stand up for themselves or to not make an action that they need to make. It's a really hard thing, right, to know when to step away from them and when not to step away from them. And all I can say is the more you practice, just like anything else, you'll know the answer to that. Okay? You'll know the answer to that. There's no easy way to knowing these things. The only way out is through. You have to go through the forest of flying monkeys with giant teeth. Like you have to. I'm sorry. So anyway, you guys, let me look at these notes real quick, and because we're gonna be going, and I'm still feeling a little ill, so I'm gonna drink some more tea and all of that, But let's see. Consequences aren't necessarily bad or good. Denialism and our sincere naivete is what's in the way of gnosis. Denialism and our sincere naivete is what's in the way of gnosis. If we do not challenge our assumptions, that's also in the way of gnosis too, where we have to continue to challenge our assumptions. So anything else, I'm just going to go ahead and put up as a post. And also, these videos I've been doing, I'm going to download them and organize them in a playlist on YouTube under Church on the B-Sides playlist. Because I really want that for people to go back and watch, if they've missed them in an organized way. 'Cause right now I know they're not organized. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll post the link and let you guys know when that's done. And yeah, next week we're going to talk about the last Hermetic principle, you guys, and that's the principle of gender. I'm really looking forward to that one too. And that's the last one that we're going to review, how kind of all of these things are intermingled, how we can start to see them all working toward us rediscovering our remembrance, rediscovering our gnosis, and how applied every day in your life, you'll continue to transcend things that you could have never imagined that you could transcend. Scary shit. It works for me, and it's not complicated. It's these 7 things. That's really it. People are talking about all this other kind of fancy ways of doing shit when it's just a repurposing of the 7 laws of nature. Really, that's what that is. So next week we'll be talking about gender, and remember, if you shared this live stream, you are being put in the queue for winning a free shirt. Pussy's the new dick is the shirt. Okay? And that winner will be read on the 29th. And so before I go, here, look, listen. You know what I always say? There's a flower that grows in the darkness, lily of the valley. So many reasons it shouldn't exist. It must be celebrated. You are one of those flowers, so you may as well bloom because it's going to be dark for a while. So all you have to do is shine on, people. Shine on. You're much braver than you think. You really are. You're much more creative than you think. And you're much more ready than you think. Really. You can do it. We're all trying to figure this out. We're all naked underneath our clothes, man. No pretense, no pompous bullshit. All of that gets in the way of the light inside of you. So we have to just get naked and get savage again. We got to get in there. All right? We got to get in there. All right, guys. Happy Yule, winter solstice, and Christmas. All of it. And I'm glad that I'll be seeing you right before the new year hits. So you guys take it easy. Thanks for putting up with me, with all my weird shenanigans and technical problems and pooping in the middle of this show and all of that. You guys are awesome. All right, we'll see you later. Love you. Bye.